Hi. Growing up in the South, my grandmother would make tater cakes. And if you are from the South, maybe even not from the South, potato pancakes are super good and they're made with leftover potatoes, but they're not low carb. So we're going to use cauli mash, leftover cauli mash, and try to make some potato cakes. Now what I've done, I've got about 2 cups of leftover cauli mash, and I had to scoop this up and put it away before my family put it away themselves. But this is 2 cups of cauli mash, and I have a video on how I do my cauli mash, and I may actually revise that, but do it the way you like it. And notice it's very thick. It is not a runny consistency. The other thing that I did with this cauli mash is I took 2 tablespoons of dried onion, and I put the dried onion in it as I was putting it away into the fridge. So the dried onion pulls some moisture from the cauli mash and as the onion rehydrates. So that's why I did it. And it's been sitting in the fridge for about 2 days. So there's the cauli mash. I'm going to add to this some bacon. Now I probably should have, this is dried, the bacon that you get, like the Hormel, and it's pure bacon, so nothing added. 2 tablespoons of that. But I probably should have put that in as well because it too will absorb some moisture. What we're trying to do is dry this out enough that we can fry it and make it work. Now I'm going to add to this, and this doesn't dry it out, but I already have the dehydrated onions, so I'm just going to put maybe 2 teaspoons of chopped green onion. I'm doing that just for color and not really for flavor. So it's just, like I said, maybe 2 teaspoons, not very much. This whole thing is I chopped up 2 green onions. So I'm just really using the top of 1 of those green onions. Now this had some salt and pepper in it, so I'm not going to add any more of those seasonings or garlic. I actually had some garlic in the cauli mash when I made it. And this I'm going to use crushed pork rinds. Now even if you don't like the flavor of crushed pork rinds, trust me that this really does work. That is a little more than 1/3 of a cup of pork, and that was weighed after I crush them. That will dry it out and work as a binder. The other thing I'm going to use to kind of dry it out, it doesn't bind so much, but to dry it out is oat fiber. And I have 2 tablespoons of oat fiber. You may find that that's a lot because it really does dry it out, particularly if you let the mixture sit for a while, but mix that in really well. The other thing that oat fiber does, and is in terms of drying it out, is it gives it that kind of floury mouth feel. It is pure insoluble fiber, and so it's not going to add to the carb count, but it's going to give it a great texture. I also want to add some cheese to this. Now my cauli mash already has cheese in it, and I'll use Havarti or Brie or Port Salut, whatever I have in the fridge. So it has to have some, but I'm going to add some cheese. Now this was 4 ounces of grated cheese. I don't think the cauli mash will take all of this. Again, you can do it to your taste. And I've never gone wrong by adding, I think, too much cheese, maybe every now and then. But this was 4 ounces grated, probably going to end up with about 2 ounces in here. And that's it. Now I could add some fresh chopped jalapeno, I could add other things, but I'm going to keep this fairly simple. The last thing I'm going to add, and this is again just to act as a binder, is some egg. And this is 1 egg beaten well, and as it fries up, it will again help with the whole binding process. Okay, so that's it. That's what goes in our mixture. And I'm going to mix it all together, let it sit for just a few minutes while I get my cast iron skillet ready, and then we're going to fry these things up. Hi, okay, we've mixed up our tater cakes, and what I'm doing now is rolling it into little balls, and you can see it's sticking to my fingers. And I'm flattening them out, and then I'm going to put them in this hot bacon vat. I could fry them in ghee, but I'm using bacon fat because I just love it. So I'm going to put it in. I'm making them relatively flat. I'm doing that because we want them to be crispy, and the way to do that is to kind of flatten them out. Now it's going to start to sizzle. I can see it bubbling around them. Let me put this this one on. And like I said, I want them relatively flat. They smell really good. And I'm not making them very big. And one of the reasons I'm doing that is because it will be easier to flip them over. So if they start to fall apart on me, it's kind of like the low-carb pancakes. You don't want to make them too big because they do become difficult. And they're really thin. They're maybe 1/4 of an inch thick. So they are starting to fry up nicely. I've got it on kind of medium-high heat. I don't have numbers on my stove. I just have had to, or on my cooktop, I've had to learn to eyeball it and like everything else with cooking. And so it's very difficult to tell you, if you were on a different kind of cooktop, how high the heat should be. Now these are frying up nicely. I don't think I have them too hot. The grease is pot. I probably should have on some kind of apron or something. My challenge is not getting them too big. They smell good. So we're just going to fry these up. And I think they would be good with the bacon and the onion that's in them and the cheddar. They would be really good served up with some sour cream or creme fraiche. Could use that too. Maybe some fresh shredded cheese sprinkled over the top would be really good. I'm sure that you could have your own ideas, and I probably would serve this. So if you think about the macros in this, you've got carbs in the cauliflower. Oops, that was too thin. You've got carbs in the cauliflower. You've added carbs in the onion, not many. The cheese shouldn't add any carbs. If it does, you're probably not using the best choice of cheeses. The egg adds 1 carb. So when you think about, you really want to say, what's the carb count, carb value for 2 cups of cauli mash, and there's some cream in that as well. So when you think about the carbs, I probably would add some meat to this to make it a meal, and we would do like a pork steak or ribeye, some kind of steak. A chicken thigh would be really good with this. I had to rinse my hands. Okay. So I've rinsed off my hands, and these are looking good. Probably these were the first I put in, and they're not ready to be turned. So I don't know how long this is actually going to take. I did put quite a bit of bacon fat in it. And while those are going, I can make more patties. So let's let these fry, and I'll be back when it's time to flip them. Okay, so I fried these up for a while, and they're starting to get brown kind of on the edges, and so I'm turning them. Now, they are not easy to turn. That one's not ready. Let me try this one. Yeah, it really does smell a lot like a potato cake. Oops. You're probably going to tell me that they're difficult to turn, and maybe I should have cooked them on a little bit lower heat. I'm going to turn the heat down. They are not easy to turn, but I'm going to flip them over, and do keep them small. Oops, that one fell in half. Do keep them small so that they will be easier to flip. This one is too big. Talk about cauli mash. That one's going to be cauli mash. Okay, lesson learned. Keep the heat a little bit lower so that they do dry out. All right, we'll put him to the side and call him a big failure. And let me try this one. Yep, that one looked pretty. He did well. And this one, whoops. I think I put too many in the pan. Oops. Sorry, there. Okay. These are not as pretty as the potato cakes my grandmother used to make, I can tell you that, but they smell really good, and I think they're going to taste really good. Got them turned over, going to let these brown, and then we'll pull them off and give them a try. Okay, so what we figured out is that when you put them on a really high heat, they look like this, so they're pretty ugly and they don't stay together very well. When you do a lower heat, they do stay together and they work pretty doggone well. I'm going to let David try one of the ugly ones, and I'll show you one of the pretty ones. So here's kind of an ugly one or two. The flavor on these is really good. Grace came up and said, "What are you making?" And she tried a bite, and her look on her face was like, "You want me to try this?" And then once she tried it, "Mom, this is good." So she says it's better with sour cream. I'm gonna sprinkle a little cheese over the top and a little bit of a little bit of spring onion in this. And I think I have somebody who wants to give it a try.
Here, you can try the next one.
Okay, thanks for being there for me. I'm going to take these others up and I'll show you. They actually, well, that one did not. They may not have had enough time. They have not. They need more time. But when I did it low and slow, they really did hold together. And I probably should have used a non-stick pan, but these have held together so much better. What do you think?
You're right. Even trying to get them up with a fork, they don't hold together very well, but they are absolutely
The
delicious.
flavor is fantastic.
The flavor is amazing.
I need to keep playing with frying them so they don't fall apart, but they really have a potato taste. I really think that I could pass these off to somebody who's not low carb and they would enjoy them. Grace, what did you think?
Good.
Grace is giving me a thumbs up. So these are the cauliflower fried cakes, and again, I'll put more instructions. Yeah, see how pretty that one came up? I'll put more instructions on frying them, but I would use a non-stick skillet and medium heat instead of frying them up so fast so that they hold together in a nicer way. So these are the cauliflower potato fritters. I hope that if you make them for your family that you enjoy them too.